What if I told you the company that made your car also built engines for Hitler's war machine? Or that a luxury fashion brand designed SS uniforms? These aren't conspiracy theories, they're facts. BMW, Siemens, Volkswagen, those are household names today, but during World War II, they were involved in one of history's darkest regimes. So how did they go from Nazi collaborators to global brands? The truth might shock you. Today we're uncovering the dark Nazi pasts of some of the world's most powerful companies. During the 1920s and early 30s, Germany was still suffering from the consequences of World War I and the harsh conditions of the Treaty of Versailles. The country faced massive reparations, inflation, and high unemployment. Hitler capitalized on this widespread disappointment, promising economic recovery, national pride, and jobs. Their anti-Semitic rhetoric blamed Jews, communists, and other undesirable groups for Germany's economic problems. When Nazis rose to power in 1933, many German corporations saw an opportunity, not just to survive, but to thrive. They aimed to make Germany economically self-sufficient and reduce its dependence on foreign trade, especially in key materials like oil, steel, and rubber. Vast resources were poured into infrastructure and building up the military and weapons industries. This was largely driven by the desire to prepare Germany for future military conflicts. Businesses that aligned with the regime made enormous profits. Volkswagen was founded in 1937 under Nazi sponsorship. Their idea was to produce an affordable car for the average German, hence the name Volkswagen, or people's car. But instead of rolling out family vehicles, VW factories quickly shifted to military vehicles. You might know Hugo Boss as a famous fashion brand, but in the 1930s, it was the go-to manufacturer for the Nazi Party's uniforms. The iconic black SS uniforms, brown SA shirts, and Hitler Youth outfits were all produced by Boss's company. Hugo Boss himself joined the Nazi Party in 1931 and profited immensely. IG Farben wasn't just a company, it was a conglomerate of chemical giants including BASF, Bayer, Agfa, and Hoechst. IG Farben produced everything from synthetic rubber to the infamous Zyklon B gas, used in extermination camps. IG Farben even financed the construction of Auschwitz III. Siemens was already a major German industrial firm when Nazis rose to power. Rather than resist, Siemens adapted and flourished. The company became a key supplier for the Nazi war effort, producing electrical parts for submarines and tanks, communication gear, and power systems. Mercedes-Benz is one of the most prestigious brands in the world today, a symbol of quality and luxury. But back in the day, it was still operating under the name Daimler-Benz, and it was one of the most important suppliers to the Nazi war machine. They produced military trucks for the Wehrmacht, aircraft engines, and parts for tanks and armored vehicles. Krupp was the largest company in Europe at the beginning of the 20th century, as well as Germany's premier weapons manufacturer during both world wars. It produced battleships, U-boats, tanks, howitzers, guns, and steel used to build railroads. There were also others. BMW specialized in building aircraft engines for the Luftwaffe, Opel produced trucks, Henkel explosives, and Nestlé specialized in military rations for the German army. During the war, most of them were using slave labor. Estimates say that approximately 12 to 15 million Jewish, Soviet, Polish, and other prisoners of war were captured by the Germans and used for labor. At the peak of the program, the forced laborers constituted about 20% of all the German workforce. They were often subjected to brutal working conditions, where they had to work in factories, mines, farms, or construction sites. They worked 12-hour shifts with little food, no safety or medical care, and frequent beatings. Many died due to exhaustion, malnutrition, or abuse. Many more became civilian casualties from Allied bombing and shelling of their factories throughout the war. After Germany's defeat in 1945, the truth slowly began to surface. Forced labor, corporate complicity, and the staggering scale of industrial involvement in the Nazi war machine. But what happened next might surprise you. Most of these companies faced minimal punishment. After the war, the Allies began the process of denazification, trying to dismantle Nazi ideology from German society and industry. But in many cases, the effort was partial. IG Farben executives were tried at the Nuremberg trials, but many received light sentences. The company was dissolved, but its parts, like Bayer and BASF, re-emerged as global chemical giants. After the war, Hugo Boss was classified as an activist and supporter of the Nazi regime and fined. He lost the right to vote or run a business for a few years. His sons took over, gradually transforming the company into the luxury brand we know today. Alfred Krupp, head of the Krupp Company, was tried and convicted as a war criminal for slave labor. Despite being sentenced to imprisonment for 12 years, he served just 3 and got pardoned. Siemens was also barely penalized after the war. The company refocused on rebuilding Germany's electrical infrastructure and expanded globally, rarely addressing its wartime history. Despite their wartime crimes, companies like Volkswagen, BMW, and Daimler-Benz were also not dismantled. Instead, they became symbols of Germany's economic miracle in the 1950s. VW even received backing from the British military government to restart production. Few corporate leaders were prosecuted. Most companies preferred silence. It wasn't until the 1990s, over 50 years after the war, that real public scrutiny began. Survivors, historians, and journalists started demanding answers, and many companies publicly acknowledged its use of forced labor and issued formal apologies. In 2000, after years of legal battles and protests, many German companies agreed to contribute to the Remembrance, Responsibility and Future Fund, or EVZ, which paid out compensation to surviving forced laborers. Over 1.6 million recipients received in total over 4 billion euros. But for many victims, it came too late. Why should we care today? Because memory matters. Many of these companies didn't just survive the Nazi era, they profited from it. Their success was built, in part, on the suffering of millions. Today, Siemens powers our cities. Drugs from Bayer help us when we're ill. BMW and Mercedes fill our roads with engineering marvels. These companies have changed. They've grown, modernized, and, in many cases, have taken steps to acknowledge their past. We shouldn't judge them, but we also can't afford to forget what they once were. Because history isn't just about blame, it's about memory, responsibility, and the lessons we carry forward. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. It will mean a lot for our channel. Thanks, and see you soon.